After his win over Drew McIntyre at the WWE live event in Trenton, New Jersey, Roman Reigns took the microphone and he addressed the crowd. And I know there's one video going around. It's very difficult to hear what he's saying. But there was a different video, a fan shot that was a little more understandable. And part of what he said, it was a very kind of shoot from the hip type of thing, it felt like. And he said he's starting a new phase in his life. And he said, I honestly don't know if I'll be back here again in Trenton. And it wasn't a heeled promo at all. He didn't have the Usos or Paul Heyman around him. It was just Roman Reigns in the ring. He wasn't saying, acknowledge me and, healing on the crowd or anything like that. He thanked them at the end. They cheered him as he left. It felt like a heartfelt speech. I think Randy Orton said it best when he was on the bump a few weeks ago. We're talking about the 20th anniversary of Randy Orton in WWE. So they had him on the bump. And he brought up Roman Reigns, or Roman got brought up somehow, and he goes, Roman's got Rock's agent on speed dial. He is definitely the next guy to go to Hollywood to do movies. What Rock has done, what John Cena has done, Roman Reigns is the next one to do that. This is not the first time that he has dropped a hint to us about this. On SmackDown last year, during one of his promos, he made a comment about when my days are done around here, which could be sooner than later. And it was almost like a throwaway line, but the hints have been there if you've been paying attention. When this run that he is on right now comes to an end, he is going to have been champion for 600 plus days, maybe 700 or 800. He's already over 600. He may pass 700 or 800 by the time all is said and done as the champion. When that happens and he finally gets beaten, where does he go after a run like that? He can't go any higher outside of the obvious match with Rock, if they could pull that off for WrestleMania, and outside of turning him babyface and having him chase to get the belt back. But for what? He's never going to have a run like this again. Hogan had his 4 years as champion. For all the times Hogan had the title, he never had a run like that first big run as champion from 84 to 88. CM Punk had his 434 days as the champion. He was never going to get that again. Even if he would have stayed, he never would have had a run like that again. I'm not saying he's going to pack it up and retire, but when this run is over, I believe the days of Roman Reigns as a full-time performer are done. And that's very bad news for WWE. Although I could look at it two ways and say that it's both good and bad. It's bad for the obvious reason, because look, they may have some diamonds in the rough down in NXT at the PC right now. Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes, and you could pick out maybe 2 or 3, 4 people at the most who could maybe one day be in that spot. But Braun Breaker and them, nobody is ready to step into that spot in the next 6 months. That's down the road. They have built everything around Roman Reigns for years, even when people didn't want to see him and they were booing him and they were revolting against the babyface push. This guy's had 6 or 7 WrestleMania main events. Everything has been built, especially in this run, around Roman Reigns. And they haven't created that next obvious guy to step into his shoes when he's done. So that's the obvious why it's bad. Now, it could be a good thing, because if he does step away and becomes part-time and we don't see him as often, they can't rely on him as much, then they're going to have no choice but to look elsewhere. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but they're going to have no choice but to push other people and give other people a chance. You can't just push Roman Reigns, even if he doesn't leave. Even if he doesn't leave. And him saying this, it's it's a very calculated thing, and he gets Vince McMahon to back up the Brinks truck, and he gets this big fat contract, big fat raise when his contract is up, which is very smart. That could be part of the play here. Even if he gets that, and he says, you know what? I got another 5 years of a full-time run left in me. You can't build everything around one person. You have to branch out. You have to look and say, okay, we believe in this person, we believe in that person, and have 2 or 3 of those people at the top of your card that you can build around instead of just one. The same guy. You can't keep doing that. So it can be an opportunity for them, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to be painful. But the breadcrumbs are already being dropped. The signs are there. They're in big trouble if they lose him full time. That's why I think Cody Rhodes came back at the best possible time for his career. They're going to need to lean on him even more, that much more, when Roman steps away to do other things. Guys like Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes, they're going to have to be focused on even more. But I'm going to be live on YouTube tonight. As soon as the show is over, join me for the full review. I mean, what else are you going to do on a Sunday night? Come on. I mean, really. Here, I'm out here on New York. Come out to the coast. We'll get together. We'll have a few laughs. WWE announced its quarterly earnings on Thursday with another record quarter, $333 million in revenue through the first 3 months of this year, $66 million in profit. That is up from $263 million in revenue and $43 million in profit in the same quarter a year ago, mainly because there was no Saudi Arabia show last February like there was this year. Each Saudi show, that brings it about $50 million alone. Live events were up $23 million from a year ago this time, but that's because they weren't running any live events a year ago at this time. So there you go. That kind of makes sense. They got a nice bump from the 2K22 game as well that was released. Nick Khan said that when WWE enters its next round of TV rights negotiations, they will have more potential buyers than they did the last time, which I don't think was ever in doubt. I'm sure that's the case. I expect they'll get even more money than they got last time. It keeps escalating every few years. I feel the same way about AEW, wherever AEW lands. I think they'll get more money as well. The only question is how much more. I don't think it's a question of will they get more. I think it's a question of how much more. How much of a bump do they get? I think WWE will get a huge bump. Only this time, those buyers might include one of the big streamers, like Apple and Amazon. Thursday Night Football starts up on Amazon Prime this fall. Apple has the Friday Night Baseball games on Apple TV+. Even Dancing with the Stars. I didn't even realize that show was still on the air, but Dancing with the Stars is being moved off ABC. It's being moved onto Disney Plus next season. They're trying to attract the older demographic now that they have all their kids and grandkids tied up. All the kids and the grandkids are watching Disney Plus. Now they want the older folks. But Netflix could also be a potential landing spot for them. Even though Netflix has been slashing left and right lately. I mean, they've been doing more slashing than a Michael Myers movie. They lost 200,000 subscribers in the first quarter alone. And they expect to lose even more in the current quarter. But if they decide to throw their name in the hat, for live programming, as Nick Khan believes they might, then Netflix could be a possible partner for WWE if they leave Fox and/or NBC Universal when those deals are up. Raw and SmackDown could end up becoming a package deal. They could be reunited on the same service or the same channel and go to one place if there's one place willing to offer WWE a boatload of money.